What's going on, everybody? It's Les from Cannabis Wiki. We are here with the 2019 award-winning Cannabis Social Influencer of the Year, our North American cannabis flower, Jackie Child.
Hey guys, welcome to the green room.
We are back inside the green room, and I would like to welcome from 360 Secure, Jeff and
Find the
Barry.
berry. I'm interested.
It's Find the Berry. You guys
Find
found
the
the
berry. We found him in the
Berry.
green
Oh,
room.
man.
I can't do a hashtag for camera.
I'd like some socks. I win today, didn't I?
Well, we got 360 Secure in the house. Guys, what's going on? What's happening?
Thanks very much for having us.
Yeah, this is the highlight to my year. This is like my
man.
Christmas present early in the green room with you guys. Like,
Oh, man.
and I mean, it was this or going back to Ottawa for a sex show, and I don't think that's gonna work well for our line of business.
Something to consider, though.
It is, yeah. They needed an MC.
Is it the
Oh.
taboo show?
Yeah,
Is
the
that what it
taboo
is?
show.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it that time again?
Yeah, it was 1 year ago today. I was actually had a booth there once.
Is that right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Hang on, can we interview her on
She's always in. She's always in.
Can West Global owns it, right?
Productions?
Yeah,
Canvas
okay,
Productions. Yeah,
Productions.
yeah, Kevin and Christine.
Mhm.
So let's get right to the heart of it. So, Barry, tell us a little bit about 360.
We're a unique animal. We're a global security company that has been specializing in the cannabis realm for several years. We have a rather eclectic and exceptional group of people that bring expertise from different areas and have allowed us to put together a security company that, in my opinion, is the only one that can serve this industry as it grows out. So literally from risk consulting, facility design, all the way through to regulatory support, and then into more traditional security, but with the application specific to our industry. So secure transportation assistance around that, and into niche guarding, so that you're actually having guards at a facility that know what they're dealing with.
Right, right.
I'm
So-
interrupting. Was
Go ahead.
360 around before legalization? So you said for
Yeah,
what?
360 was not.
Okay.
The amalgamation back in January with David Hyde and Associates
Okay.
brought that expertise in. David and Jeff and that core group come from the very early days back to 2011, 2012, I think.
Okay.
So we started 2013 when the MMPR came.
That's right.
So for medicinal.
Yeah, for medicinal. So we helped secure, David and I helped secure a license for one of the original 11 sort of test group that
Okay.
Health Canada did right in the beginning, and that was Bedrock. It's since been acquired by.
Canopy.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
Okay.
Everybody's getting
Things look
acquired.
really, really different back.
Did they have so?
It was just looser. Like, you've read the regulations. They tell you where you got to get to, but not how to get there. So we sort of had to find our way through it, throwing things at the wall to see what would stick, and then eventually things become easier, and that's right.
Right.
So the navigating is becoming easier then.
It is, because I mean, we're in a unique situation, so we get to see more of what people try. So Health Canada, their position is, this is what the regulation says. You tell us what you want to do, and we get to say yes or no.
So you guys have been formulating through all that.
Yeah, like 6 years.
Can you tell us a no? You said all the yeses and then a no. What's a no? Like
What do they say no to?
Yeah.
We tried some creative stuff, like.
I love to know the no's.
but we fixed the creative stuff and we got to a yes.
Yeah. I'll be honest. There's sometimes you just can't get to a yes, and like every facility's different. Everybody wants to grow a little bit different. They want to go, different stuff that takes different physical spaces, and
And the players are very different at each.
yeah, totally. Right?
It's
Backgrounds,
creative.
understanding. Like, people come to us and they say, "This is what's going to help me run my business." We identify the regulatory obligation and what it's going to take to tell Health Canada a story that they can buy in and believe that they're going to run a compliant facility. We help
Right.
them, make that connection between what they want to do and what they need.
It's an interesting new line. We've been doing it. David and Jeff and myself have been doing due diligence type work our whole careers.
Right.
What's interesting now is that creative piece. Now we're getting to the people that perhaps don't make headlines, but need some help aligning what has been business up till now to the new reality. And it does give us a leg up. It sounds horribly arrogant, but the only way you can get to the knowledge that we have now is having done it so many times and having that feedback
Exactly.
and that interpretation and understanding where we're at. Because I have several colleagues in the global security realm that want to get into cannabis, and I will usually have a very honest chat about how they're going to spin up that agency, because it will take them a year or two to get to where we are today. And in a year from now, much like a tech industry, they're going to be out of touch.
It's
So it's
changing.
really, yeah.
Well,
Right.
good security is a secret, right? You don't tell people how you're protecting stuff.
Yeah.
So to try and work through the regulations in isolation, can't even imagine.
Right.
So we get, a little insight into what works and what Health Canada can buy into, and then we can take those wins. If you want to design a facility today, I'll tell you what works. I won't tell you where I got it from. But I'll tell you what works and why it works.
We lately we've been feeling honored and pained.
Fuzzy hair.
See, she takes care of everybody.
I kind of thought my face got cleaned earlier. We're having a significant number of people come through our door now that are having us come in to do gap analysis and pre-attestation visits that have worked with other people.
Elaborate on that a little bit more.
Well, you're at, with the way the system's working now, your last step to your application, if you will, I mean, there's follow-up, is that actual submission. And that submission is a video attestation that you've met the requirements that Health Canada is looking for. We ran into so many problems for the last few months with clients that we hadn't done the design or hadn't had input on coming to us to do it. We have an excellent reputation for that piece, and our relationship with Health Canada allows us to handle RMIs very well with them.
Request for more information.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I know better too.
He's not just a pretty face, right?
No, sadly. And he's way smarter than me. So shortly here, I'm going to shut up. But.
Lester does that when I talk. She's trying to say.
So it makes good teamwork.
Yeah, I understand that. So what we've seen is a significant increase in people coming to us now, not just asking for that attestation, because we're recognizing those gaps. And we're, I've touched a couple of files where it's not a full-scale redesign, but it almost could be to get them to the license. And these people have spent, this is where it's painful. We pride ourselves on the fact that we're there for the people. Is it a business? Absolutely.
Yep.
But we're there for the people. And when you see somebody who has been not always intentionally, but taken advantage of by some security integrator or consultant or whatever that will say they've done 100 licenses, but nobody's asked the question, how many have been licensed?
True.
They get to us and
Good
they're
point.
having to redo and redesign and reset what has probably been in the millions of dollars. And I mean, we can't do it for free, but we sure, if we could, I'm going to eat this one later. If we could, we probably would for a few of them.
Now, do most of these LPs take into account the expense of this type of security? Like, do they really think about all the steps that is necessary? It's not just about the facility, but also once the facility's up and
Operations,
running,
yeah.
and then the product's there, how does the product get from end to end?
The good ones do. The good ones are planning and forecasting those kind of costs and trying to keep that stuff in mind. Like some of these.
What are the good ones?
360 secure.
No, like
we're
the
talking about license
LPs.
holders,
The LPs,
right?
No,
yeah.
yeah.
What are the good LPs?
The ones that are planning ahead, and being aware, like these electronic systems, like we're talking about hundreds of cameras in some cases, right? Like these are big, complicated systems. You don't just, plug them in and they run forever. They take maintenance and upkeep, and then you're right, man, that all has costs.
Even access control. I mean, Jeff and I come from a realm where access control could get very complicated.
Right.
I'm not sure I've ever seen it be regulated to be as complicated as we've had to be. It's a little better now. But that has often thrown integrators who have good track records behind them in facilities, thrown them off in designing around a cannabis facility because of the requirements around regulatory logging and actually somehow integrating that into the business operation, because none of this works in isolation. Like we work as a professional security consultant, we work on a security program. So it's why we know about security systems, integrations, access control, camera, but SOPs, getting into staff handling, staff and HR issues. All of that becomes part of a security program. And there's an awful lot of people out there that don't have that well-rounded knowledge or the expertise around the table, and that's our team. That's what we bring.
So there was a story. Sorry.
You were going to tell about the
Yeah,
triggers,
I was
right?
gonna-
Yeah. I want to know like the big wins and a big nightmare.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, we read about Portland, the facility that lost $1 million in product.
Yep. It's not ours.
I'm not familiar with the particular story. The biggest mistake people make is not even about security. It's about environmental.
Meaning?
Cannabis is a unique plant. It really is. Some strains, they like more moisture. They like more humidity. Some like different temperature ranges. Some like different temperature ranges at different parts of the cycle, right? If you want to maximize your potency or your yield, you got to have minute control over that stuff. People that really fall down are not the ones that skimp on security. They're the ones that skimp on, HVAC. Like you get condensing humidity, you get mold.
Okay.
We all know the regulations around quality. Crazy, right? Like the biological contamination, the thresholds you're allowed to have are nothing. And cannabis is not a tomato. You don't get to hose it down after it grows. Like
right.
what you harvest is what you're stuck with. So you better make sure that it comes out okay. And that takes some smart engineers.
That's going to be my takeaway from today. Cannabis is not a tomato.
maybe
I have a
broccoli,
takeaway
but it's
from
not
what did I
tomato.
learn in the green rooms? I learned that cannabis is not a tomato.
But it's interesting because when you talk about that, and we're by no means growing experts and such, but we're aware enough of the industry and what happens there that I don't know, Jeff, if you remember how many years ago, but for a short while we had a client or two that was using integrators using a type of camera with infrared that was when we had to have cameras in the grow rooms, and the infrared was causing grief off the camera.
I had that happen myself.
Yeah.
I got an infrared camera, and the lights were coming on to these cameras for me to monitor them when the lighting was off. So during their bud,
But
my
it was
leaves were all
messing with
screwed.
the whole-
Oh my, yeah, it was a big mess.
But these are things that we've always been aware of,
Right.
because in other areas of global security, and no, I won't go down that hole, the type of infrared, the type of nighttime lighting, the type of camera is critically important. So transferring that knowledge into this realm was a natural. You ask those questions.
Right. Well, that's what kind of adds to the title of the company, 360. In order for you guys to be able to provide your service, you need to know about
everything, all
Yeah.
aspects.
Well, it's why our transport and our guarding service lines are so unique, because guarding and transport is not a new industry in the
It's
world.
like a Brinks truck. Is that what?
We have a full range,
Yeah.
right? Like it really depends on the risk tolerance of the customer, what they're looking for, what the transportation needs are. Sometimes it's a logistical exercise. We're just moving from point A to point B in a transport truck or a sprinter. And sometimes stuff is worth more, or they're more worried about it, and we have solutions.
Yeah, we
full
go.
range.
So what would be a monthly amount that you guys would transport?
I should have
man.
brought those numbers. It was.
I heard it the other day too.
It was many million,
Yeah.
many millions.
I don't want to say, but like
no.
it's a lot.
Yeah, and it is quite complicated because that risk assessment, risk analysis comes down to how we're moving it. I mean, we have hard skin, we have soft skin vehicles. We'll run with an escort, armed escort, armed drivers when appropriate.
Barry runs with an escort.
There's budgetary restraints.
Budgetary restraints. He's funny.
I love you, Barry.
He's got lots of good ones.
When are you wearing this so I know when I need to send a letter to my CEO?
Who is the CEO?
Thomas
okay.
Kurtenecker. He has quite a unique and background that again helped us with our lens and how we're stepping forward.
He's a veteran.
He is a veteran. He was with Canadian Forces, was with the teams, the JTF teams.
Special Forces?
Yeah.
Wow.
Spent quite a bit of time with the UN with their security operations and came
That's
back
cool.
here. Yeah, he's got and I got to tell you, it's not just him, the team around him, the directors we work with are all veterans. They all have, in my former life, I worked with a lot of different government agencies and people. These guys are the cream of the crop. They come out of the best areas of the Canadian Forces, and they're running the different divisions.
That's what I'm starting to see here is that everybody's very knowledgeable inside this company. Not just about the company and your jobs you perform, but also everybody else's.
We try, right? And that's our angle on cannabis.
Do you want to know how cannabis can help with chronic pain? From MS to surgery rehab or arthritis? Or how cannabis can help with some mental health illnesses like depression, anxiety, insecurity? Maybe you just want to know about cannabis itself. Then Cannabis Wiki is a cannabis website that teaches you, guides you, and will provide you the latest cannabis news, showcasing many shows about cooking with cannabis, or an up-close look sitting down with cannabis industry professionals. If you're looking to broaden your cannabis knowledge, please visit cannabis.wiki to learn more. So what transportation are you guys using? What types?
What did you say?
What
What?
of transportation?
Where's the whiteboard? Well, we're moving ground transportation, various size vehicles. We do air.
Okay.
We haven't put any on any birds yet. So
Trains? Any
No,
trains?
no
yet?
trains.
actually,
No?
trains are very risky for high value transport. You would not ever go.
Is that
Why?
right?
For robberies? Or
Well,
for, like,
you've got a whole bunch of security issues, and then logistics. The security issues are a known schedule, too many hands in the pie of who touches that load. You lose control over that.
I just
Okay.
picture like a horse rolling down the side of the train
Oh
track.
man.
There's meat in there.
Wow. I feel like I'm back in Alberta. I like where she's going with this.
I was
Yeah.
just in Alberta. That's probably why I'm saying that.
It will be interesting because we're looking and moving fairly aggressively into the U.S. market, and so the modes of transport aren't going to change because we have to have control over that, and the client needs that control. Our competitors right now haven't quite solved the getting it from A to B well, and we've got that. So the U.S. market is going to be a bigger challenge for that. And
It's not just security though. If it's how far, like, isn't it long haul? Like, don't you have to worry about sort of refrigeration, moisture, like
they're all
like
environment
Yeah.
controlled,
environmental controlled
Yeah.
vehicles,
and
right?
monitored to the. I think we're to the second. They're live monitored both in the truck as well as in an operations center.
Oh, wow.
And our customers can actually get a printout showing the temperature ranges their product is exposed to from point A to
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's excellent on logistics. Jeez.
I learned something else.
Well, that's why we got both of these guys here.
Transport's probably the
Bang, bang.
This is really
Pardon?
cool.
Transport's probably the least regulated part of the
Yeah.
whole cannabis business, right? There's only one
Really?
section that addresses it, and it just says, you as the license holder will maintain the safety and security of cannabis and distribution. That's all it says.
Yeah.
So there's right from like our product, carrying it around with armed guards, well planned routes, geofencing, GPS tracking, temperature and humidity, right to a lot
Uncle
of license
Ted.
holders who throw it in the
Uncle
back
Ted
of
in
a
the
pickup
minivan.
truck.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Really?
So now with edibles and the rest being legal, has that made any changes to the format of security for you guys?
Oh yeah. Well, think of value right off the bat. Talking about value, we've already dealt with dealing with production after post production product because a truck of flour is radically different than a truck of oil from a value point of view.
Right.
And remember, as we say that changes the profile of the potential offender
Oh,
radically.
wow.
I mean, somebody that's going to steal or try to steal a $250,000 valued truck of liquor or weed is radically different than the person that might aim at that $70 to $24 million truck rolling down the road. That's a whole different offender profile.
Right.
And then as we're now moving in and talking about environmental controls, now we're going beyond what the client needs just from a flower perspective. And we were talking earlier about flash freeze. We expect to start seeing coming out of open grows and such. So how do you manage that in a truck? Because you've got a really narrow band of temperature they can stay in.
Right.
All the way through to we don't know what those edibles are going to be. I mean, chocolate, which seems like loaded up. Well, what's the bloom on chocolate? Is about a 6 or 10 degree move on chocolate.
Yeah, we got we got an education in chocolate from a customer the other day.
Yeah.
We were planning ahead for it. So chocolate at too high a temperature melts.
Yep.
When it
Below
gets
it
too
blooms.
cold, it gets like that white chalky stuff.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
on
It's
top,
that
yeah.
powdery on top of it.
Nobody wants
Yeah.
that. So it's gonna change the
And
game.
breakage and cracking and whatever.
That's
like
almost the easy side of it.
Is
But
it?
yeah, that's still part of it. But
Right.
it's I think the people outside the industry that aren't thinking about this
Mhm.
have in their minds the bag of gummies that I can throw in the back seat. And if only it was that simple.
Right.
I mean, I got a car right now; it'd be ideal for that. But everything else is not going to work.
I want to know, like a big win, something that's really, really exciting to you, and then I want to know something that was like a big, oh
Well, I'll take the win because that's the easy one.
god.
But I'm not going to give you the answer you want.
Why?
The win is the 170 plus license holders out there that we had a hand in helping them get.
Wow.
Oh, that's good. That's a good one.
There's not just one, and we've got in the hundreds of files on our desk.
170, you said?
Yeah, I think we're 172, somewhere around 170. Probably shouldn't.
That's a lot.
Over 160 and
Yeah,
somewhere in there.
a
That's a
good
lot.
proportion of the
Yeah.
license.
And that's Canada. Like we are doing consulting work with our clients in other countries. We are fortunate that our relationship is so good with our clients that
Mm-hmm.
they naturally carry us into whatever country they're going in.
Wow.
nice.
So, I mean, the win for us is you asked earlier about the people.
Mm-hmm.
Even the people that are challenged and don't want to hear the business risks and business models are the people at the end of the day when they win.
Mm-hmm.
We're just proud of being able to step beside them and step through it.
There's a lot of
I like
interesting characters in the
Oh, yeah.
cannabis space, so I can
That's for
imagine
sure.
the difficulties in the conversations that
I'm
are
a
had.
criminologist. I just love every time we get someone new coming in. Sometimes these guys will be shaking their head, and I'm saying, can I just go talk to him for a while? I'll get it sorted out.
Okay, so the big loss, the big oh god, disaster.
I wouldn't call anybody out, but the most heartbreaking ones for me are the ones that have to throw in the and just get life.
Mm-hmm.
It's always hard. I mean, so starting in
Financial reasons.
always, right? So starting in 2013, I've seen the almost full cycle now, right?
Right.
So 2013, nobody wanted to think it, and then for a couple of years, things were really, really good, right? Where the money kind of flowed. Now things are challenging a little bit, and the capital's kind of hard to get. The more informed investors. Sometimes people, the process of navigating Health Canada's regulatory process can be pretty draining, right? And it takes time. You're carrying salaries throughout that time. You've got your property in place. You're paying property tax. You outlaid a ton of capital. Sometimes you're paying interest on those loans. Sometimes
Family loans. Man,
they,
how often is it
a lot
family
of friends
loans?
and family rounds,
Wow.
and make you feel like
I visited a small
heartbreaking.
pre-LP. They're just waiting for and they're like ready to go, and they're losing. He said, and they were small, under that canopy with the 2,100 or what's the growth
So
like
micro,
a micro,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
$68,000 a month.
Yeah.
Well,
that they can't grow.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, waiting,
That's crazy.
waiting for a license.
Yeah, 2,200. That's the one where they use the most Canadian description ever, the space between the blue lines.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. So he was talking. This gentleman was talking to me about the video that they have to send to Health Canada. Do you guys actually do those
That's
videos?
the attestation.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about. The
That's what,
attestation.
so you
video.
do that
Okay.
as well.
We both
Yeah.
do.
Oh, because I had a lot of people ask me, like,
He
do you know
taught
what?
me.
Oh, cool.
Ah.
I'm
Do you use a drone?
we do actually use drones. I might have done. I actually might have hosted more of those videos than anybody else in Canada.
Really?
Is that right?
I would think so. Yeah.
I knew you looked familiar. That's just
That might be a different video, but again,
back to the taboo.
We just can't run from it. We just can't run.
It's the green room. It's not the
I am in
boardroom.
so much trouble when this goes to air.
That's
No,
good.
no, not at all. You guys are being very informative, and I so appreciate both of you taking the time because it is a busy company that you do work for, and there's a lot of people that are.
Do you grow your
definitely
own?
Waiting on you guys.
I don't grow my own person.
Do you grow your own?
No.
Do you smoke?
Oh yeah.
Do you smoke?
Okay.
I always wonder.
What's your opinion about?
He drinks scotch.
We'll say recreational smokers. What's your opinion there?
I and even when I carried in, as far as I'm concerned, we screwed this up so badly, criminalizing it when you're allowed to go get falling down drunk everywhere else. That I'm excited about two things. On the rec side, I'm excited that we're actually normalizing something that never should have been criminalized.
Right.
I am exceptionally excited because of my circle of friends and family, and that cannabis has had a positive impact. That the research and the quantification of what so many of us believe will be proven. And then I guess the third leg to that is I'm an exceptionally proud Canadian that it's us doing it. And as long as we don't get hamstrung further and we're able to step that research forward, that's why I'm here. I
love
we're changing the world.
I love it.
I'm also
I love
doing a
it.
lot of my own research.
Well, there is that kind of research.
Me too.
And just for my friends that listen to your podcast, I know that there's an informal pool of the day that Barry actually decides to step back in the realm, because I did go to college and university, and I was intimate with the
Okay.
plant before.
From Alberta, right? And
Yeah.
you say yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I was
there's a
intimate
pool
with the
somewhere.
plant.
Oh man.
Have you
love
been smoking forever or been?
I did when I was younger, and then I kind of stopped doing it. And then when I came back into the industry, you meet all these passionate people who love the plant,
Right.
and you learn stuff about, like, I mean, I was just talking to a guy this morning. You hear all these stories like, tequila does this to me and whiskey does this to me.
Right.
Right.
Oh, baloney. I think alcohol is alcohol, right? But talk about entourage effect and all the ways that cannabis can interact with your body. That you really can expect different things. And I
never
really
smoked
like it.
like when I was a teenager or anything. And never, as an adult, I raised my children. It was just say no to drugs. And so about 2 years ago, I have Crohn's, and I was being on anxiety and depression meds, and I decided to throw that away, literally cold turkey, and start with cannabis.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing. And I just can't get enough learning about all the different strains and how to grow. And now like this, you're telling me I'm not going to stop thinking about the different ways you transport and the temperatures and the security systems of it. It's really cool. Like there's
I think
so
so.
much to learn in the cannabis space.
It's a business like any other.
And
Yeah.
evolving, like changing, as you know, changing.
I don't know if it's like any other because, well, at least you guys don't make it seem like any other to me, anyways. The company's doing big things in a lot of forms. You guys consult. You guys provide secure service from the beginning of construction. You also supply security guards when it's up and running. Then the transportation, air freight, ground freight.
Barry hosts.
Audits.
Barry also hosts conventions, expos.
Listen,
People are crazy enough to give me a microphone. That's, not sure that's a good thing.
never mind.
We also follow that up.
Once you get a license, if you want to keep that license, we can help you do that. If you get into trouble, we'll be right there with you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
so a big support system.
Absolutely.
these guys are the experts out there. We've been the go-to.
What
when
about
things hit
CanTrust?
the
Is
fan.
that the one that?
So when things go south, there are firms that you go
Did
to.
you know them?
Yeah.
I've heard that name.
Did you
somewhere.
know them
Did
on a
you know
personal
them?
level? CanTrust?
Just from the National Post.
Just
Right.
that you didn't know. I just like to throw in some.
I love
juice
his. I
in
love
there.
his professional look. Jeff just. Yeah.
Well, that's lovely. Should I throw anything else in there? You're like, guys, no,
Give me
we're
your best
not.
shot. Give me your best shot.
Where's Mr. Hyde? Where is he?
He's stepped away from the company. I understand from what I'm seeing on social media, such doing some global consulting in that.
In the cannabis space.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
That's-
good. Yeah, he's a good guy.
It's interesting to see how. I mean, there's a beginning, middle, and end to everything, right? You
Yeah,
move
always.
on, and
Yeah.
you don't want anybody to,
No,
bad
well,
blood.
I wanted to know if you weren't going to ask. I was definitely going to.
I
ask
just
because-
usually throw it, but Barry's being so sweet, and he's just like all friendly, and he's got blue eyes. and
Barry's
everything. I'm like,
awesome.
how do I lay it to this guy?
Listen, we're lucky to have Barry here because I know Calgary's still calling for you with the amount of things that you got going
Oh,
on. over
Alberta
there.
is the crazy.
Flying back tomorrow morning.
Is that right?
Yeah.
My best friend
flying
lives in
back.
Okotoks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I like those.
She's a life coach. She doesn't smoke weed.
In my previous life was chief of staff for flood recovery after the floods in 2013 and took care
Oh.
of High River, Okotoks, Black Diamond, that
Her
area.
husband is
Wow.
big in hazmat, cleanup
Mm.
hazmat material. He's an engineer in
Okay,
hazmat.
yeah.
Interesting, but
Cool.
she
Mm.
doesn't smoke
Yep.
cannabis.
No, I'm heading back, and you mentioned it earlier. I mean, 360 is not just about cannabis. So we've got a security operation on the ground around a big Alberta convention going on this weekend. So
Nice.
I got to go back and oversee that.
The time we went.
What about security?
That wouldn't be so
They
volatile.
don't need any security, do they?
What about security to the executives?
Yep.
Like kidnapping, extortion, stuff like that.
See, now there's a question.
And what
Yes.
about
right?
like
there's been a
about
question.
people stealing espionage, like people stealing the formulas?
Okay, there's about
How
4
peop-
questions. just so
Right,
you
I
know.
know he won't stop. He's making a big spot of silence
But
here.
he doesn't want to be on camera or have his own mic or
Wimp.
anything, so he just
What a
yells
wimp.
in our ears.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Security for VIP.
So we have a full suite of services that are C-suite services that you generally don't talk about a lot. They're usually brought in at a board or certainly executive level. And we do, some of us have a background in doing that. Prior to joining David, I was running security teams for former world leaders. And we have several people with expertise around that on the 360 side of the house.
Right.
So we advise, excuse me, we'll do risk analysis, travel risk analysis and such, and support the assessment side to determine services needed. And I mean, you've got high net worth people that it's almost
Hi, network.
high net worth people who are totally new to that realm. I mean, I can talk about it now. It's long enough in the tooth, and not too many people have figured it out. But I had a conversation with one of the bigger players over dinner one night, talking about how they just got back from a Latin American country with their family, and they've been going there for 20 years. And oh yeah, they're going to put a facility in there. So I very naively, wasn't poking for business, said, "What are you doing for security around that?" Because even at that point, they
Right.
were worth a little bit.
Right.
And so we don't need security. Everyone knows me. So we then had a 45-minute conversation around how in that particular country, kidnapping is actually an industry. And
Wow.
it's actually not him at risk, it's his wife and kids. And
Right.
so that's the kind of stuff we step into, and we can help, because it's not as bad as it shows on TV, but it is as bad as the alerts and the reports we see on the ground. So
Wow.
it is important to look at that stuff. And if you take the human element out of it, what is the one critical piece that can take a leg out of a stool on an organization, a public company? You take out an effective CEO or 2 or 3 members of that executive, and now you have a company failure because you've lost. Or what is that worth to get them back? So there is a whole lot of that side that we step into.
That's
and have
huge.
expertise. We just don't talk about that a whole lot, because obviously none of the clients want to talk about that
Right.
too much, and we're usually dealing with the board or the law firm.
That's huge.
Are you
So-
guys doing anything in Jamaica yet?
We are aware of Jamaica. Yeah.
We're aware of working on anything. There's lots of big things going
Yeah.
on.
I've been to Jamaica.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Got to go up into the mountains.
Yeah, really cool.
Very cool.
I get sent a lot of decks and stuff.
Yeah.
Things are going on. There's a lot
Very
of
different,
very
different business down there.
cool things
Yeah,
happening.
very different. And I was shocked at the risk down there. I would have assumed naively a couple of years ago that this would be great. This would be fantastic. And then, yeah, not so much.
Jamaican Girl Scout cookie.
Ah, there
Actually,
we go.
oh yeah, and I've had that.
Yeah.
See, I haven't tried that.
And what's it? Lamb's breath? Is that what they call it? Lamb's
Yeah.
breath? Is that their
Lamb's wool.
lamb's wool? That's
Yeah.
what. Yeah, is that what it is? That's their one of their native strains or something.
Yeah,
Or
that's
their-
what the rest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was that?
I didn't try any of that.
Lester
Just,
doesn't smoke
I had the
weed.
Girl Scout cookie.
Yeah.
Wow, you just got thrown, buddy. That was.
Oh, yeah, that-
Wow.
every now and then
She's
I-
kind of vicious.
I have to wait for one. There's always just like that
funny.
rogue wave in the ocean. You
Well,
never
I'm
know when
waiting.
it's coming.
She was so
Lester's-
nice there. I'm waiting for mine to come, because that was just a setup.
I'm being good. I'm just sort of Lester's actually the level head calm one. He's the one that's supposed to rein me in and keep me.
It's all right. I let it fly a little bit.
Let you fly a little bit. He went
Just
to
a
say a
little
little bit.
Just a little bit.
So from here, you're going back to Alberta.
Yep, back to Alberta, and then out to BC, and then.
Is that something cannabis related? BC?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
big, exciting, or just
always exciting.
Is it?
Meeting new people.
is
I
every
love
day
it.
exciting?
Yeah, that would be a good way to put. Every day is exciting.
Mhm.
It's kind of like I often say, I'm living the dream, but I have to point out to people that dreams have 2 edges. So it's not always a good dream, but it's always a dream.
Right.
Never boring.
Never boring. And then we're going to be on the ground at MJ Biz in Vegas, so
Oh,
that'll
fun.
be fun.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Nice.
That's
Nice.
for the Scottish cheap guy who doesn't gamble. There's absolutely no appeal to that.
He has Celine Dion tickets.
Ah, there we go.
No, I had to sell those because now a whole bunch of Celine Dion. Oh no, it's Whitney Houston stuff's being sold out in auction. So I need to buy that for my
Oh.
wife.
Oh, damn. Oh, damn.
While you're in Vegas, that's a Whitney. Oh,
Yeah, I think they're doing it in Vegas.
oh.
Mhm.
Now you got a reason to go. You could wear her. I, on the other hand, could not.
Oh, shit.
We should go to
I was
MJ
baiting you,
Biz.
Lester.
I
I was
know.
baiting you.
Lester.
Again, I was pausing whether
Eric.
or not to jump in on that.
No, shouldn't we go?
What, Vegas?
Yeah.
I'm just going to leave it on the table right now.
Okay.
Cannabis Wiki, we got so much.
Maybe next year. We have
going
a lot of
on
things going on. We have a lot of things scheduled for
Right.
the next
Those are
2 months.
You let me know if you need a temporary host. I'll sit in on his
Oh.
behalf for you.
Yeah,
I think that is a
It'd be
good man
fun.
to fill my spot.
but we won't tell anyone in the shop.
No.
We'll go, hey, let's Barry.
I can't get that low.
That's all right. Barry. We'll set you up with some lines and you can drop that intro.
There we go.
All right. So for 360, what else is new and up and coming for before 2019 runs out, and what's coming up for 2020?
For us, it's about managing the growth.
Yeah.
Growing is hard. You
Mhm.
got to make adjustments. You got to make smart decisions. And we're growing like crazy.
Yeah, we haven't slowed down. And our if I was in front of a class of MBAs, I'd be saying it's an adaptive business model. So it sounded like we actually planned it that way, but it's literally the
Mhm.
smart people around the table keeping up to what we need to adjust and pivot to as we step forward.
Just gonna say, there's that word.
Those are
Every class, every lecture I go to, pivot. That's
those are
the word
key
for the
words.
cannabis space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are key words.
And
You
they
have
also
to-
say, get on Twitter.
Be nimble.
Pivot and be nimble.
It's interesting about social media. I'd actually love to sit down and do a whole show on social media, because I from my previous life, I profile for a living, and I keep watching how social media in the Canadian market is so influential.
Mhm.
Not always to the good, to
Right.
your point, but
Mm.
but is so influential. But nowhere else in the world is it even a player.
No,
Is
it's,
that
just
right?
it's fluff. It's entertainment
Yeah.
at best elsewhere.
Yeah. So your business model radically changes. We've watched companies for 2.5 years do a significant portion of their capital raise on social media.
Mhm.
They're not going to go to the U.S. and do that.
Right.
Like they actually have to do a real investor meeting and actually
Right.
do a deck and
And
do it more
LinkedIn is
traditional.
incredible in the cannabis space. LinkedIn is, I
Yeah.
lose days on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I do.
So with the U.S. now federally looking to decriminalize cannabis, how is that going to work out?
Gonna be interesting.
I'm not holding my breath for when it'll happen. It will happen eventually. We all
Right.
know that. I don't see it. It's not going to pass.
It's a card
Mhm.
that'll get played politically at the
Yeah.
right time when it has the most, just like
Yeah.
anything else.
So
Yeah.
just because the elections are coming up in 2020?
If it makes sense, if it swings the vote, then maybe it'll happen. But the thing to remember about the U.S. is the U.S. is a very different government than what we have in Canada. Like they are very much about states' rights and states respecting states' abilities to govern them.
Okay.
So
You wouldn't have an Ontario
no.
state with municipalities like Ontario's got saying, no, we're not going to do it.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas the states, they have that ability.
State
right?
to state is so different.
Yeah.
Mm,
So
Mhm.
mm,
It's a business challenge. I mean, for us operating down there and working in states, because it's 360 going into the U.S., but we're having to operationalize in each state separate.
Mhm.
right.
I mean,
Oh.
it is.
So is it going to be
painful.
a lot more new compliances that you guys will have to learn?
Oh, always.
I don't think so. So we've done applications in the states for licenses in a few different states. Illinois, Nevada, California, Florida, Oklahoma.
Hmm.
Nevada.
Most of the time when you get in the States is where in Canada, it's a very prescriptive, lengthy regulation.
This
There'll
is
be
where
a
we
test
normally-
later, Lester. Yeah.
No, not a problem. Not a
This is
problem.
where we normally pass a joint around and I choke. So we're not gonna,
Wow.
I'm not very good at smoking weed. And
We're being good for Barry.
yeah, wait, that's why.
You don't have to. I'm proud of the fact that in every city and at every conference, I am an honorary member of the circle.
Do you hear that? All right. So round 2, Barry. We'll have joints on the table. Don't
All
you worry.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So guys, 2020 is coming.
It's going to be it's going to be the year of adapting, and the shift is going to move away from all eyes being on LPs, production, cultivation, to how are we rolling it out? Excuse me. The whole Ontario circus of retail will start moving in whatever format that takes, but that will start moving. That's going to be 2 years of stabilization. Like everyone looks to Alberta as a huge success. It's really, they've done it exceptionally well, but it's
I poured it in my glass.
thank you. It's the last 6 months that we've actually been doing it really well and moving those licenses through quickly and inspections and all the way through. So it's going to be about retail, and it's about what we don't know that retail brings to the table. In our realm, it's going to be around that business operations risk and not just pure security, but how are we advising clients to be able to operate properly
Mhm.
from the storefront all the way back to distribution, back to the production side.
I want to ask like a dream, perfect client, or who's like you got your eye on or hoping. Like, if you have something like that, you have like a dream, or no?
No, I wouldn't be able to, even under Scotch influence, I wouldn't be able to answer that.
Like Jim Belushi.
Oh,
or
man.
whatever? Is
Oh, like
Belushi-
celebrity endorsement?
Yeah, like
That's-
some sort of
oh, no.
celebrity.
That's a slippery
Oh.
slope with the
I want the Rock.
advertising.
I want the Rock.
Okay.
Can we get the
The
Rock?
advertising
Oh my-
restrictions
That's
make
what my
that really
husband
tough.
would say too. The Rock.
Mm.
So,
So who
oh,
are some of your clients?
like, do we have any celebrity clients or no?
No.
What
Like
are the
some
what are
big-
the
no?
big clients that you have, if,
Well, we
if
have-
you can say?
I'm trying to think of who we've gotten. I'm measuring against what the deck says.
Actually, put together a list the other day. Some of the really
monsters.
the monsters in the industry, they've become pretty self-sufficient as far as the consulting stuff goes. They have internal resources. They have to get it.
Oh, so they
understand.
just have it in house.
Yeah, they know how to navigate the
Yeah.
regulation.
I mean, the
but
early
at the same
days we
time,
were there,
we in the early days, yeah, absolutely. But now,
and
touch
some of our
points
best
are-
friends are those regulatory departments.
yeah, yeah.
It is a very small circle.
Right.
I mean, I know Jeff does it. I do it. Anyone who has credibility on the consulting side, when you've got a challenge, as much as we may be competition or someone in-house somewhere, you pick the phone up to say, have you run across this?
Hmm.
Like, we just saw this on an RMI. What the heck?
On a what?
I don't want to call
A
anybody
return.
Request for more
Yeah,
for
request
information.
for more information.
out. I don't want to call anybody out. We have touch points to. a
Yeah, you
huge-
do.
a
It's the
huge
green room.
portion
Call
of
'em
the
out.
industry.
Not gonna
But
happen.
you know what? The sole reason being, I don't want anybody to feel left out if I didn't say it. But we have a lot of amazing clients who are doing
Yeah.
amazing.
Okay.
And they're all doing it slightly differently. So rather
Yeah.
selfishly, the fact that they know that we're good friends and we're not going to brag about it means we can still learn from them.
Just
Oh,
you guys are solid, man.
we found the berry. He came
Well,
to the green
one
room.
of us is more solid than others.
Oh, man.
Lester's more solid than I.
Oh,
That's
God.
for sure.
So is there anything that you guys want to put out that we haven't touched on?
I don't know.
Not really.
Was there something you're hoping we wouldn't ask, or we would ask? Because then that's fast.
You need to come into an interviewing class with me. You're kind of good at doing that out there. I used to do a safety program for parents
Right.
around keeping their kids safe. And one of the questions we would teach parents to ask teenagers is there something you're afraid to tell me?
Oh, man.
My son's
man.
21. I still say that all the
Yeah.
time. Is there something you're
My
afraid to tell
my
me?
poor kids grew up in a household that was probably not that comfortable for them.
I guess not.
But,
Mine either.
no, I think from a 360 perspective, we're just proud to be in the position we're in because we're there because people trust us. And that relationship matters. And that's not just me saying it on social media. That relationship matters. So beyond meeting a contract requirement, we are fully invested all the way through to keep that relationship solid and real and be there for them. Because if the industry succeeds, we succeed.
Right.
That's simple.
It's a tough industry.
Right.
The toughest things are the best things.
A lot of great people though, and their hearts are in the right place. So it's an
It's a
industry
very
that
passionate. I
that
mean,
love.
people that are in, I don't know, tomato farming. Is anyone so
Thank God you didn't go cucumbers.
Yeah, cucumber, right? Is anyone so passionate? Like, people are really, I mean, you're invested. Not only are you invested financially because it's massive, but your heart and your mind, your families, like, there's a lot at stake in the cannabis space. Like, there's a lot going on.
I think the thing that excites me the most, that I'm the most proud of, is anywhere cannabis goes, opiates go away. That needs to happen.
Yes.
Yeah, hugely. That is the big thing. That's I think that's on
I'm
everybody's
just going to
mind.
tell you, I had a colonoscopy yesterday, and I have Crohn's, and they gave me fentanyl, and I was terrified. I was terrified.
Wow.
It was the scariest thing, and I got a few minutes to talk with the doctors before, and they said maybe 3 years. They were hopeful that we would be able to replace this with some sort of cannabis product of some sort. So,
But there's that research. That's the exciting part. We got to step that forward. We got to keep that pressure on it. You ask about rec. I don't focus anywhere, but it is truly the medical side of the business, because business is going to drive it. Everyone can pick on big pharma, but everything lands because big pharma sees a dollar sign.
Mhm.
So if we can't point them to a dollar sign around the research, then we're not going to get them. So I'm happy to push that forward because I'm very excited about what the next 3 to 5 years.
Do you have children?
Yes,
How old?
21 and 28.
And do they use cannabis that
No.
you know of? They
No,
don't?
no.
So my son, 21, brand new, like maybe 5 months. He's never, and just, I guess maybe because I'm talking about it so much that
Yeah.
I'm using it for health and wellness reasons.
And everything you own has leaves
And
on it.
everything, it's cannabis is everywhere. So he's been trying, and it's weird because it's the conversation that, I mean, it was just say no to drugs. Like, all drugs are bad. Even drinking. I didn't want my kids to drink. I mean, I've had way too much in my time, and same with
Not
his
me, I'm
father.
me.
So I was afraid, and now that cannabis talk with our children, I just wondered
Yeah.
what the cannabis conversation around your household is.
It's been interesting because I've never bought into that. So other than being around friends in my former industry and hearing that, in our household, none of us consume, so it didn't come up naturally. But it also, when it did come up, was never a negative or a bad.
Oh.
And my son's a chef in Calgary, in an industry that drinks heavily, way too much.
Right.
And I would actually welcome that shift, I think. So we've sort of had that conversation, but it's sort of like saying, here's a new drug. Here's a new drug. Trust me.
A
try
new
this.
high, right?
And I'm not even actually bringing the credibility to my son that I'm using it myself. So it's kind of an empty cell there.
Do you have children?
I do.
The little ones, big
3
ones?
boys, 10, 8, and 7.
Aw.
Okay.
And
so
no cannabis stock in your house.
you're still yet to face that combo.
No, I would say we hide it. Like I go to the same shows that you guys do. Half the t-shirts I own have cannabis on it. So,
Right.
but I mean, I look forward to like the normalization. It's gonna be so much different.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't anticipate having any awkward conversation.
I was saying on one of our shows, I had the cannabis socks on, and it was Ubad's daughter, and
Yeah.
she's like 8, and she's like, Jackie, I love your cannabis socks, as she just went playing by.
Yeah.
That was so weird to me. I would have died if my kid had said, like, things are changing, right? And the stigma, try and normalize.
Yeah.
It's so different now. I like, whew. First of all, I wouldn't have had anyone in my home wearing a cannabis sock. See, look at that. I wouldn't have had anyone in my home with
The
that.
stigma's hard to break.
Yeah, in with myself as well.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Retail heats up. New adopters can go. They can do educated salespeople, understand the product.
The bud tenders.
Right? Yeah. Like
Mhm.
The bud tender awards. That was exciting this year.
I mean, we
That's
just
cool.
finished up. Every single person in this room has sat with somebody who knew what they were talking about and come out better informed. And,
Mhm.
you know,
That's what I love about this the most is the education.
Yeah.
The educational part. Like,
Yep.
you don't participate in cannabis, but yet you're open to it. You're open to the education and advocating.
Yep, absolutely.
I love shit like that.
It's very interesting conversations too. It's cool. This is very interesting. Science. I love talking about science of it, data. All of a sudden, I'm a scientist and a data nerd. I'm a pharmacist. I'm a
Well, it's great.
now I'm
that
a security
such a
cop.
diverse of people can sit
Yeah.
at the same table and have a discussion on a very, very passionate topic.
It's really cool. Thanks for coming to the green room, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
for having us.
I'll be keeping
Barry,
my eye out for a
it's cool.
chocolate truck going by.
Oh man.
Is there a hint? Is there a sign? Like, are they
Coming out of Smith Falls, it might have chocolate. Oh no, that's old news, isn't it?
Oh man. Oh
yeah.
man.
Because that used to be the Hershey thing, right?
Ah, that would have been good.
I know some things.
Yeah, you know a lot of things.
So where do we find the Barry that we have all over Twitter and LinkedIn and everywhere that I know how to find them, but
You're that stalker.
that's me.
My day is looking up. This
I have
is
some
okay.
troll
Yeah, this is all
accounts.
right. We're at 360.com on the web. That's the number 3, and then spell it out 360.com, of course.
Mhm.
At 360 on Twitter, Instagram, and we're on Facebook. And we're on LinkedIn. We're everywhere.
And it's
Yes,
3,
you
the
are.
number 3, and
The
then
number
60,
3
the
and then,
word
60. Secure.
And you guys are going to be in Vegas.
for MJ Biz.
We
December.
are. We got a booth and everything. Come
Mhm.
say hi. Mike and I are going
Okay.
to be down there enjoying it.
Okay.
My buddy Mike is awesome. He's kind of upset that he's got to be stuck in the conference and not hitting
Hi,
some of the
Mike.
retail environments. So, hey, shout out, Mike.
We usually shout out someone.
Yeah.
Everyone's always excited to.
That's no problem. We can shout
Hey.
out Mike, right? Well, all right.
Well, that's fun. That was great. That was a good and very informative green room.
I
We
like
said
it.
we inform, we educate, and inspire.
Yes, we do.
Now you need to go smoke.